بسم الله الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه وبعد. We continue with our study of this book Kitaab At-Tawheed, the Shaykh Islam Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahaab alayhi rahmatullah. In the last sitting, we were discussing the statement of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, وَلَقَدْ بَعَثْنَا فِي كُلِّ أُمَّةٍ رَسُولًا أَنْ يَعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ وَاجْتَنِبُوا الطَّاغُوتَ. And we mentioned the statement of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, and we have indeed sent amongst every nation a messenger proclaiming worship Allah alone and avoid At-Tawhīd. And as we mentioned in the previous lesson, that Tawhīd ma tajawaza bihi al-abdul had, that the Tawhīd is a general term for everything regarding which the servant goes beyond the bounds. Everything regarding which the servant goes beyond the set limits of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, min ma'budin, aw matbu'in, aw muta', from that which is worshipped, followed, or obeyed. So we repeat the definition of At-Tawhīd. It is everything regarding which the servant goes beyond the set limits of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, from that which is worshipped, followed, or obeyed. With this being the case, the statement of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala that we have indeed sent amongst every nation a messenger proclaiming worship Allah alone and avoid the false deities at Tawhīd, avoid everything that is worshipped besides Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. And we pick up today from some of the fawaid that are contained inside of this verse. We discussed in the last sitting some of the things that is connected to this ayah and the difference between a prophet and a messenger. We mentioned to you as well how some of the ulama hold there's no difference between a prophet and a messenger, whereas others amongst them hold that the prophet is one who receives divine revelation from Allah, yet he is not necessarily commanded to go out and propagate it, whereas the messenger, he receives divine revelation from Allah Azza wa Jal, and on top of that, or in addition to that, he is commanded to go out and propagate it. Therefore, every messenger is a prophet, but not every prophet is a messenger. This is that which has been stated by some of the ulama, while others amongst them say that no, there's no difference between a prophet and a messenger. At any rate, whatever the case may be, this is something which we discussed in the last lesson. And now we're going to pick up mentioning some of the fawaid and benefits that are contained inside of this tremendous verse. And so he mentions ma tufiduhu al-ayah, that which the verse brings about of benefit, that which we are able to benefit from this verse. أولا بيان أن أصل الدين وأساسه أمران. The first benefit that we get from this verse is a clarification of the fact that the asl of the religion, the foundation of the deen of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, and its basis is two affairs. It is two affairs. أحدهما الدعوة إلى عبادة الله وحده. The first of them is the call to worship Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala alone, as all of the prophets and messengers were sent with this affair, calling to the Tawheed of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, the Tawheed of Allah Azza wa Jal in His ibadah, worshiping Him alone Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. And this was the point of contention between the prophets and their nations. So they did not contend with them regarding the lordship of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. As the Shaykh Salih Fawzani mentioned, that no one in the history of the world ever denied the worship of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, the lordship of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, except out of arrogance. As Allah Ta'ala mentions, فَحَشَرَ فَنَادَى فَقَالَ أَنَا رَبُّكُمُ الْأَعْلَى, that he called out and proclaimed amongst his people. He gathered them together and called out and proclaimed amongst them, meaning Fir'aun. He said amongst his people, أَنَا رَبُّكُمُ الْأَعْلَى, that I am your Lord, the Most High. Here we find that a takabbur, or arrogance, pride, led him to this affair of denying the lordship of Allah and claiming lordship for himself. Likewise, that which we found with Nimrud, in which he contended with Ibrahim. He contended with Ibrahim, and he said that I give life, or Ibrahim, he said that my Lord is the one who gives life and causes death. Then Namrud, he said in response, I give life and cause death. Rather, I give life and I cause death. As we know, this is from the affairs of lordship of Allah wa ta'ala. So no one ever denied that, as Shaykh Sadi mentioned, except out of arrogance. Meaning that who woke you up this morning and so on and so forth. They're going to say God did all of that. 9 times out of 10, they're not going to attribute these things to any false deity or anyone other than the creator of the heavens and the earth. Now, but the point of contention between the prophets and their was the affair of the ibadah of Allah wa ta'ala. Meaning, in spite of the fact that the people knew that Allah ta'ala alone is the Lord. Hatta Quraysh, even the Quraysh, Allah ta'ala informed us that if you were to ask them who created the heavens and the earth, they're going to say Allah. So in spite of the fact that the people knew that the one and only true Lord, the one and only true creator is Allah wa ta'ala, you found them worshipping other than Allah Azza wa Jal. So this, again, was the point of contention between the prophets and their nations. The worship of Allah ta'ala alone. The worship of Allah ta'ala alone. And so the foundation of the religion, it goes back to two affairs. Firstly, worship of the call to worship Allah wa ta'ala alone. وَتَحْرِيضُ عَلَى ذَلِكَ, and encouraging the people upon that. Naam, وَالْمُوَالَاةُ فِيهِ, and having allegiance and association with people on the account of this affair. وَتَكْفِيرُ مَنْ تَرَكَهُ, and declaring those who abandon that concept, declaring those who worship other than Allah to be disbelievers. يعني ترك عبادة الله وحده, meaning those who leave off worshipping Allah Ta'ala alone. Even if they may worship Allah wa ta'ala, however, if they worship alongside Allah Ta'ala something else in addition to Him, wa ta'ala, then these individuals are mushrikun kafir. They are a disbeliever and a polytheist. Now, wathani, the second foundation of the religion, the second foundation of the religion is that tahdhiru min ash-shirki billahi fi ibadatihi, is the warning against associating partners with Allah wa ta'ala fi ibadatihi, in His worship. The warning against the association of partners with Allah in His worship, with jamir khasa'is, and likewise all of those things that are specific to Him. As some of the ulama of the past, when it comes down to the categorization of polytheism and shirk, some of them have classified shirk several ways. That which is agreed upon between all of the ulama is that shirk is major and it is minor. Some of them say, however, that it is major, minor, and hidden. They say it is major, minor, and hidden shirk, shirk al-khafi. But those who say that shirk is only major or minor, they say that there is a such thing as a shirk al-khafi, or that hidden shirk, but hidden shirk can take place in major shirk or minor shirk. Not, it can take place in major shirk or minor shirk, meaning a person can commit a hidden form of polytheism, and that hidden form of polytheism which they are doing, it can take place in major polytheism, meaning he can blatantly outright worship something other than Allah Ta'ala, but that is hidden from him, and he is unable to comprehend and understand that. Or it can take place in that which is minor, and the hidden shirk, such as al-riyah, showing off, and the likes of this. Yet other ulama, though, some of them, they categorize polytheism and shirk the same way we categorize the affair of Tawheed. So a person can commit shirk in the lordship of Allah wa ta'ala, they commit shirk in the worship of Allah ta'ala, they commit shirk in asma wa sifat. Now, and so an example of committing shirk in the lordship of Allah wa ta'ala, according to this group of scholars, would be the individual saying there's another creator alongside Allah. Like we find with the Hindus. We find with the Hindus, that they say there are two creators, a creator of light, a creator of darkness. The creator of light creates all things good, and the creator of darkness creates all things that are evil. An example of shirk in the lordship of Allah wa ta'ala. And shirk in ibadah is clear, right? Shirk in ibadah is clear. And then there is shirk in asma wa sifat, either by way of naming a created being with a name or giving them an attribute that is specific to Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, or giving Allah Ta'ala qualities and attributes that are specific to the creation, saying that he rested on a certain day because he was tired, he was fatigued, and he rested, and the likes of this. Now, but again, that which is agreed upon by the ulama is shirk is either major or minor. At any rate, when we attribute to the creation those things that are specific to Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, saying there's another creator alongside Allah Ta'ala, another controller of the universe, like we found with Rafida. They say that their imams they have control over the molecules and atoms in the universe, that which we find from these extreme Shia of aqaid al-kufriya, belief systems that are clear-cut disbelief, giving things that are specific to Allah Ta'ala, such as his affairs of lordship, creation, and controlling the universe, and the likes of this. Now, we say that from the principles of the deen of Allah Ta'ala is warning against this, warning against these practices. Now, وَتَغْلِيظُ فِي ذَلِكَ, and being stern in doing so. وَالْمُعَادَةَ فِي, and having enmity with people on the account of that. We hate this affair and we hate those who do it. Now, وَتَكْفِيرُ مَنْ فَعَلَهُ, and declaring those who do so to be disbelievers. ومن شواهد هذه الجملة قوله تعالى, and from the shawahid, those things that attest to this affair, is the statement of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَا مِن قَبْلِكَ مِن رَسُولٍ إِلَّا نُوحِي إِلَيْهِ أَنَّهُ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا أَنَا فَاعْبُدُونِ. And we have not sent before you, O Muhammad, any messenger, except that we revealed to him the statement, La ilaha illa ana, none has the right to be worshipped except I, therefore worship me. Therefore worship me, meaning worship Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. This is the first fa'idah that is contained in that noble verse. The second fa'idah that is contained in this verse, اتفاق النبيين والمرسلين على دعوة إلى التوحيد, is that all of the prophets and messengers called to Tawheed. All of the prophets and messengers called to Tawheed. So therefore their da'wah was one da'wah. They didn't have various da'wat and various calls which and everybody calling to something different. Rather, all of them had one and the same da'wah, the Tawheed of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. And likewise, at-tahdhir, the warning against shirk. فَمَا أَعْظَمْ التَّوْهِيد. So how great is the affair of At-Tawheed? وَمَا أَعْظَمْ شَأْنُ, and how great is its status? وَمَا أَخْطَرُ الشِّرْكِ الَّذِي لَا يُلْقِي لَهُ كَثِيرٌ مِنَ النَّاسِ بَالًا, and how dangerous is the affair of polytheism, which many of the people have no concern with. الفائدة الثالثة, the third fa'idah, Shaykh Ubaid mentions, أن الدين الأنبياء واحد, is that the religion of the prophets was one. So in the previous point, the Shaykh, he mentioned that the da'wah was one, but here he mentions their religion, their deen, is one deen. So there was not one religion for this prophet while the next prophet had a different religion. Rather, their religion was one religion. It is the deen of Islam. No other deen besides that. Naam, for deenul anbiya wahid. So therefore the religion of the anbiya is one. Even though their legislations differed. They had different legislations. The way that we fast in the legislation of Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam was different than the way that they fasted in the legislation of Musa, for example. Now, so their legislations were different, but the asl of their religion is one and the same. It is the deen of Al-Islam. ويدل لهذه بالإضافة إلى ما تقدم من الآيات. So what indicates this as well, in addition to that which is preceded from verses, is the statement of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, وَالْأَنْبِيَاءُ إِخْوَةٌ لِعَلَّاتِ. The prophets are paternal brothers. They are paternal brothers, meaning their bloodline by way of their fathers is all one and the same. Their bloodline by way of their fathers is one and the same. Now, he says, أُمُّهَاتُهُمْ شَتَّى. their mothers are shatta, are different. Well, the ulama mentioned concerning this narration that what is intended, the murad, the umuhat hina, that what is intended by umuhat here is their shara'i, their legislations. The legislations are different. The legislation are different. وَدِينَهُمْ وَاحِدٌ, but their religion is one. But their religion is one. وأخرج البخاري ومسلم عن أنس بن مالك رضي الله عنه قال قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم لأبي إن الله أمرني أن أقرأ عليك القرآن. This narration, it mentions the Prophet ﷺ said to Ubay that Allah has commanded me to recite the Quran to you. قال Ubay, Allah sammani lak. Ubay, he said, did Allah mention me by name to you? قال Allah sammaka li. He said, Allah mentioned you by name to me. فجعل Ubay يبكي. And so Ubay, he began to cry. Upon hearing this, he began to cry, meaning he began to cry tears of joy that he's been given this manqibah, this status that Shaykh Ubaid mentions, يعني لم يشركه فيها أحد فيما علمناه, that we are not aware that anyone else was given this virtue, meaning that Allah Ta'ala mentioned them by name, that the Messenger alayhi should go and recite the Quran to him. So it's no doubt, it's a great status for this great companion, Ubay ibn Ka'b. He says, now, he began to recite the statement of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, لَمْ يَكُنِ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا مِنْ أَهْلِ الْكِتَابِ وَالْمُشْرِكِينَ, that those who have disbelieved and the mushrikun, nam, to the end of that verse. Nam. He says, and this is Surah Al-Bayyinah, وَفِيهَا, and in this is the statement of Allah Ta'ala, لَمْ يَكُنِ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا مِنْ أَهْلِ الْكِتَابِ وَالْمُشْرِكِينَ مُنْفَكِّينَ حَتَّى تَأْتِيَهُمُ الْبَيِّنَةُ رسول من الله يتلو صحفا مطهرة فيها كتب قيمة وما تفرق الذين أوتوا الكتاب إلا من بعد ما جاءتهم البينة. And so, we are familiar with this surah. And it is the statement of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala that those who have disbelieved from the people of the book and the polytheists, they did not separate and differ until the Bayyinah came to them. What is the Bayyinah here? Ulama mentioned that the verses are connected. The Prophet Muhammad himself, alayhi wasallam, he was the Bayyinah. He was the proof. He was the evidence. They didn't differ and have schism amongst themselves until the Bayyinah came to them. And this Bayyinah is the Prophet Muhammad. And what is the proof of that? Allah says in the next verse, رَسُولٌ مِّنَ اللَّهِ يَتْلُو صُحُفًا مُطَهَّرَةً, a messenger from Allah, reciting purified pages. فِيهَا كُتُبٌ قَيِّمَةٌ. In this are كُتُبٌ قَيِّمَةٌ, very valuable writings. وَمَا تَفَرَّقَ الَّذِينَ أُوتُوا الْكِتَابَ, and those who have been given the book did not differ إِلَّا مِن بَعْدِ مَا جَاءَتْهُمُ الْبَيِّنَةُ, until after the Bayyinah came to them, the proof and evidence came to them. إِنَّ الدِّينَ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ الْحَنِيفِيَّةُ, indeed the religion with Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala is Al-Hanifiyya. It is Al-Hanifiyya, غير مشركي or غير مشركة. It is not a polytheistic religion, ولا يهودية, nor is it the religion of Judaism, ولا نصرانية, nor is it that of Christianity. He said, so therefore, if an individual were to come to us and say, الديانات السماوية ثلاثة, that the divine religions are three, they are Islam, Judaism, and Christianity, then we say, that you're a liar. We say you're a liar, because Judaism and Christianity are not divine. They're not divine. Naam, amma Islam for naam. As for Islam, then yes, it is a divine religion. It's a divinely revealed religion. Naam, but as for the other two, that you're a liar. You are a liar because they are not considered divine religions. For Judaism and likewise Christianity, they are not divine. These things are man-made. The ulama, they mentioned that Religions are either nazila or nabita. The religions are either nazila or nabita. The nazila meaning they come from above, they come from the heavens. And this is the deen of Islam. Or they're nabita, meaning they are homegrown, they are grown out of the earth. They come upward. Now they come upward. They are man-made religions. So not everything that comes from the earth is good, you see? Not everything that is organic is good. Some things that are organic are no good. And if it is a religion that comes from the earth, it is no good. I mean, the people made it up themselves, it's no good. As for that which comes down from the heavens, the deen of Islam, this is the one true religion. It is the deen of all of the Anbiya wa Rasul. May Allah Ta'ala make us from those who are true practitioners of the divinely revealed religion. وعن قتادة قال اليهودية بدعة. Qatada, he mentioned that al-Yahudiyya, Judaism is an innovation. وَالنَّصْرَانِيَّة بدعة, and Christianity is an innovation. وَالسَّبَائِيَّة بدعة, and Saba'iyya is likewise bid'ah. وَالْمَجُوسِيَّة bid'ah, and that of the Majus, the fire worshippers, is bid'ah. وَاللَّهُ مَا نَزَلَ بِهِنْ كِتَابٌ, Allah did not send any book down containing any of this. وَلَا سَنَّهُنْ نَبِي, nor did any prophet ever legislate them. This narration is mentioned by Ibn Jarir in the tafsir of Surah Al Imran, when Allah Ta'ala mentions, فَأَمَّا الَّذِينَ فِي قُلُوبِهِمْ زَيْغٌ, as for those who have zayg, a deviation in their hearts. Al-ayah. So this is that which is connected to the second verse from the verses that are mentioned in this chapter of Kitaab At-Tawheed. And it is now, and the first verse rather, in clarification of that, was the statement of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. The next verse being this verse that we have explained to you all. Upon this, we'll just continue until the next lesson, بإذن الله تعالى. And Allah Ta'ala knows best. هذا وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين.
جزاكم الله خيرا يا أستاذنا الفاضل for this benefit and this time. We pray Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with goodness.
آمين آمين وياكم كذلك الله يحفظكم.
جزاكم الله خيرا. There was a question that came, just one question, Ustad. Barakallahu fikum.
تفضل.
The questioner says, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May Allah grant you goodness, Ustad. She says, there has been a lot of oppression these days from people or the followers of Halabi, and other than them, for the people of desires. And this has affected most of the Salafi states we have in our country. What advice do you give us as sisters in order to strengthen ourselves in the da'wah and be steadfast upon this blessed da'wah of Salafiyah? Barakallahu feekum.
وعليك السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته. As it relates to the oppression coming from the people of desire, this is not something which is new. Rather, it is the sunnah of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala as it relates to His believing servants and His awliya, is that He allows the truth to be opposed. He allows the people of haqq to be opposed in order that the evident truth can be made manifest to the people and it can become clear to them. And the falsehood of falsehood can be made manifest and clear to the people. That way they are able to avoid it. The reality is that the people of desires have always launched oppression against the people of Sunnah. During the days of the Salaf, they would call Ahl Sunnah al-Hashawiyya worthless people. They would call us Mujassima, those who give Allah Ta'ala a body. They would make up all types of ridiculous names with which they will label Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. But none of those names are suitable for them, except that which they are known by amongst the time, or from the time of the Salaf up to this time in which we live. So they are known as Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. They are known as Ahl al-Athar. They are known as the Salafiyun. They are known as يعني الطائفة المنصورة, الفرقة الناجية, and other than it from those names which denote honor and nobility. So we say that if you find yourself that you are being oppressed and you are being spoken ill about and ridiculed by the followers of the likes of Ali Hassan al-Halabi, then we say and receive glad tidings. Because we don't want to be honored by the likes of them anyway. We don't want to be praised and commended by the likes of them anyway. And wallahi, if you find that the followers of Ali Hassan al-Halabi are praising you and speaking well about you and smiling at you, then we say something is wrong. Something is wrong. But rather, when the likes of these individuals find fault with you and they're speaking ill about you, they're only doing so on the account of your steadfastness and you're holding fast to the sunnah of Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and you're holding fast to the words and the speech of Ahl Ilm, and you're being upon that which the likes of a Shaykh Rabi is upon, the likes of a Shaykh Ubaid, and other than them from the scholars who have warned against Al-Halabi and his deviations and his innovations and his opposition to the usul of the religion and its institution of new principles that have nothing to do with Salafiyah. This is why the ulama warned against them. And you'll find that those who adhere to the words of the ulama, then you will find that these individuals find fault with you. But again, if you find that they're praising you and speaking well about you, then there's something terribly wrong here. There's something terribly wrong here. So don't be disheartened when the likes of these individuals yani, speak ill about you, and they find fault with you. And if they wish to and desire to add to their evil, because it's already bad enough they're upon Hizbiyah and Bid'ah. If they want to add to that oppression of the people of Sunnah, the awliya of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, then by all means let them do so. By all means let them do so. Because what can be better than coming forth Yawm al-Qiyamah, having good deeds in your scales which you didn't even do? You're going to find good deeds in your scales of good which you didn't even do. Why? Because those individuals, if they have any good with them, then by way of their backbiting and their slandering of Ahl Sunnah, then they will give those good deeds to Ahl Sunnah. So what can be better than finding good deeds in your scales that you didn't even do? So we say receive glad tidings if you find that these individuals are speaking ill about you, because we don't want their praise and accommodation anyway. We ask Allah Ta'ala to make us sincere in our statements and our actions, and to make us individuals who meet Him while He is pleased with us, who are allowed to drink from the Hawd, the Messenger of Allah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and not from those who are pushed away from it. May Allah Ta'ala grant us steadfastness and patience and firmness upon the minhaj of the Anbiya. Allah Ta'ala's best. هذا وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد.
Jazakumullah khairan. We really grateful for the beautiful answer. We pray this answer benefits something. Jazakumullah khairan.
الله
The next
يسعدك.
person says, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
وعليك السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.